Hi, welcome to the Monday class for C2. What we're going to do today is a little bit of reading practice. In the last class, we did this page that talked about how your listening skills are and gave you some different vocabulary about listening. So what we're going to do today is go to the next page, go to page 96 and 97. We're going to be doing these pages today and a little bit of 98. So this will be our last YouTube class because we're going to start our Zoom classes on Wednesday from then on, okay? So what I'd like you to do first is, I hope you have your notebook open. Can you please copy what I've written here? You got 4 different types of words. So the first one, rival, competitor, perform, and ethics. So some of them are nouns that are people. Some of them are verbs. And what I'd like you to do is to think first by yourself, what words related to these words can you think of? They need to be from these root words. For example, competitor, you could write competition. So they have to have the same base, so to say. So have a think of at least, try to think of maybe 2 or 3 for each. Think about negative, positive. If it's a noun, think of maybe a verb, an adjective, negatives, positives, plurals, things like that. Okay, and once you can't think anymore, use the dictionary and try to complete this with some more words that maybe you didn't know. And I'll do the same, and when we come back, we'll check them together, okay? Okay, so I had a look at some words. This is what I have. So if you want, you can pause the screen and just have a look at these different words. Most of them I just looked in the dictionary for, and I thought of them as well. But I mostly looked in the dictionary because I couldn't think. Maybe you have some that are similar to me. Maybe you have some that are different. I'd love to know which ones you have that I don't have, because I'm sure I don't have all of them. Some words that you might not know. Rivalrous. So this would be the adjective. When you have a rivalry with someone, like someone is your opponent basically, but it's a little bit more than that. You have a rivalrous relationship with that person. With perform, I think you know all of them. Underperform, I think you know, but outperform, maybe you don't know this one. It's like to outdo someone. For example, whenever we use the word out in front of a verb, but it's connected to the verb, it means to do better than somebody else. So let's see, I can say, don't know, like a new motorbike, for example. I don't know anything about motorbikes, but like the newest motorbike outperforms all the rest. It just does a better job than all of the rest of them. I think you know all of the words with competitor and ethics. All I could really find was ethical, unethical, ethically and unethically. Maybe you can find something else. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But that's what I've got for those words. So what we're going to talk about today is the topic of rivalry. So in this unit, we've been talking about psychology and employment. And what we're going to talk about today is when things get a little bit too competitive in many different aspects of our lives. It could be work, could be with friends, it could be sports, anything. All right. So have a look at page 96. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So have a look at number 1. It says, which of the following quotations about success do you identify with and why? So the first one says, whenever a friend succeeds, a little something in me dies. Okay. Do you identify with that? Or do you identify with, is it possible to succeed without any act of betrayal? I don't know what you think. What do you think that these are true? Do you think the second one is true? That you can just succeed on your own? I think what they mean here is that, is it possible to succeed without pushing other people out of the way, like sabotaging them or their success? Okay. I don't really know. I've not had a huge think about it. I don't know if the first one's right. Whenever a friend succeeds, a little something in me dies. I think that could be true for everyone, but not because you're sad that your friend is succeeding, but maybe you're sad that you're not. Could be that, I guess. I don't know, because maybe, not really thought about this, but if your friend, for example, gets a really good mark in their exam and you got like an okay mark, don't you feel a little bit like, well, why? I don't know. I felt like that at university sometimes, where I'd be like, but why did they do better than me? I don't know. I think we all do it. And maybe a small part of you dies. I don't know if it's that extreme, but I don't know. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know what you think. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I would like you to please have a read of these 6 questions here. The main thing, as always, that I'd like you to look out for is just reading the questions first and underlining important information in the questions, so that you know what information you're looking out for. I've read this text already. It was really interesting. And I'm not a really scientific person at all. So some things were a little bit tricky for me to wrap my head around, like some of the studies and like the outcomes and the variables and things like that. But should be no problem for you. But some of the vocabulary is a bit technical, but again, it might not be a problem for you because you have a lot of experience reading articles in English that are maybe more on the scientific side. So just let me know if you have any problems with any vocabulary that I didn't cover in the video today. We can talk about it in the next class. But yeah, take your time now. Read the questions here, but not so much the answers. I mean, you can read them quickly, but don't underline anything in the answers. Just the questions, okay? So pause the video now and do that for maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and then we'll go over what the important words could be, okay? So I assume that you've paused your video now. Number 1 says, what comment does the writer make in the first paragraph about rivalry? Okay, so it's good because all of these answers are always going to be in the correct order. So they're all going to be in chronological order. The important words, I would only underline 2 or 3, no more than that. I would say probably comment and first paragraph, because we know the text is about rivalry, and you don't have to underline writer because that's obvious. Like, who else is going to write this article? A writer. I would just say comment and first paragraph. Number 2, what did Gavin J. Kilduff's research show? So in this case, I would underline his name because it's a different person they mentioned in the text. And probably research. You don't need to underline show because, I mean, the whole point of doing research is to show something. So I would just probably say his name and the research. Number 3, what happened during Deepak Malhotra's simulated auction? I would probably say the name again, because then you know exactly what to look for in the text. So Deepak Malhotra and auction. Do you know what an auction is? You might. An auction is where there's a bunch of people in a room and there's maybe some antiques and someone's like, okay, €5. And someone like raises their stick thing. Then they're like, yeah, okay, you. And then someone else bids higher. That's an auction. I think we've been over that before, but I'm not sure. Okay, so number 4, what did the research carried out on basketball fans prove? So maybe research and basketball fans. So you can just look for those keywords in the text to find the answer. Number 5, what does the writer imply that Kilduff believes in paragraph E? So definitely paragraph E, because that tells you where the answer is. Maybe Kilduff and imply. So when you have certain words like this that are not prove, show, say, imply means it's not going to say it directly. You have to reason it out in your head. So whatever Kilduff believes, you're not looking for that. You're looking for what that means, and that's what the answer is going to be. So it's not going to explicitly say it in the text. You're going to have to think about it and come to some sort of a conclusion. Number 6, what conclusion does Kilduff come to about rivalry? So maybe conclusion, Kilduff, and rivalry. That's what I would say. I mean, there are no right or wrong answers, but if I were doing the exam, these are the words that I would underline. All right, so just before we start, it's always a good idea to read the tip. It says questions sometimes focus on the writer's opinion and implied meaning. That's what I said before. So read the text carefully before trying to identify the correct option. Well, duh. Okay, that's self-explanatory. Read the text carefully. But yeah, some of the questions you have to be careful for what type of information you're looking for. It's not always going to be directly what you see in the text. Sometimes you have to think about what that means. Okay, so what I would say is probably you have around 10 minutes to do this exercise. Maybe maximum 12. You've got an hour and a half to do the whole reading and use of English. So it depends how fast you go as usual. But I would always try to give yourself less time when you practice so that in the exam, if you have more time, then it shouldn't be that big of a problem. So what I would say, put a timer on your phone or whatever you use for 10 minutes and do your best to do everything in 10 minutes and answer every question in 10 minutes and see how you do. You obviously don't have to understand every word. You won't understand every word. I didn't understand every word. But that's not the point. It doesn't matter if you understand every word or not. It's just about the meaning and if you can answer the questions. So time yourself for 10 minutes, read the text and answer these questions. And then when you're finished, we'll go over the answers. Okay, go. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over the answers and then we're going to talk a little bit about the vocabulary. So give me a second. That's not it. Okay, this is it. All right. So number 1, I'm just going to tell you the answers. So number 1 is D. Number 2 is B. Number 3 is A. 4 is D. 5 is A. 6 is C. So if you're confused about why those answers are the answers that they are, tell me and I can send you the part of the text where it says those answers, okay? So what I'm going to give you now are your 2 bits of homework for whenever you can do it, okay? So I've got some vocabulary words that were in the text and these are them. Okay, you've got 7 of them that I'm not sure if you know. In here, this is just a synonym because this article came from an American magazine, so a lot of the vocabulary is American, especially this one, cut in line. So this is the British way to say cut in line. Have a look in the dictionary for these different vocabulary words from the text, and can you decide in what contexts they can be used? Could you make a sentence maybe for each one? That would be really helpful for you, especially to remember them. And the second bit of homework that I'd like you to do is on page 98. It's kind of just analyzing the text and different structures that they used in the text. So yeah, text analysis, okay? Number 4, work through A to G, referring to the paragraphs A to F. So you've got A to G here with some different questions for you to really think about what was in the text. And it tells you where the lines are. So just have a look, just have a think about why the writer does these certain things. And lastly, what we're going to talk about a little bit now, well, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to ask you and you're going to think about it at home, is number 5, discuss the questions. Do the results of the research surprise you? Why or why not? For me, I don't remember really exactly what they said about the research. I just read it. It was saying something about, something surprised me, actually, to be honest. I don't know if it surprised you. I really would love to know what you think. For me, it was really surprising about the auction that they were saying that if someone is up against more people, like 7 or 8 people, I can't remember what they said, that they will tend not to bid higher. But if they're only up against one person, it's more likely that they'll bid higher. That was surprising to me because when you think maybe if you're at an auction and there are so many people bidding, you're like, oh crap, I got to bid higher. But if it's just one person, you probably think like, whatever, like it doesn't matter. I don't know if that's even right, but that's just like the first impression I had, that it was not, it was like the opposite of what you think. And I think in the text they said it was not really rational either. I don't remember, but I think that's what they said. And B, some people say that we all have an inner Machiavelli. What's your opinion? So if you want to know any more about Machiavelli, go for it. Have a look on the internet, but it also gives you a little bit of information here at the bottom. So do you think that we all have an inner Machiavelli? Which I think that means, what was he? Wait a second. Do we have an inner Machiavelli or do we show his his hypotheses. I don't know. It says he was a statesman and political philosopher. Oh, yeah. He advises rulers that the acquisition and effective use of power may necessitate unethical methods. So I guess that he was a political figure who kind of advocated unethical methods to acquire power, I guess, and that you can become cunning, scheming, and unscrupulous to do so. I don't know. What do you think? I think that everybody has that side of them. It just depends if you decide to play that side more often. There are people, I think everyone has a bad side, but you choose, you make a decision if you're going to behave more like that or not in certain circumstances. I don't know. I'm the least competitive person ever. I really just don't care. I don't know. It's really bad, isn't it? But yeah, I'm just not competitive at all. I just really don't care. Maybe you're competitive. I don't know. When I was in my job in London, everyone was so competitive and they would always get irritated with me because I just wasn't. I don't know how to be more competitive. I don't know how to care. Maybe you're competitive when you play basketball or other sports. When I do sports, I can be competitive. Like running, I think I'm competitive. But if I lose, like it's not the end of the world. Like I'll get over it. And C, to what extent do you think that competitive events like the Olympic Games encourage international cooperation and understanding? I don't know. Not really thought about that before. Maybe they do because they are like bringing nations together, and it is competitive, but you see at the end of every race or every event that people always like hug each other and like say congratulations, and you don't see any animosity on the court or on the track, but you don't know what happens behind closed doors. Really don't know. All right. Well, whenever you can, it doesn't have to be this week. Send me the homework from today, which was analyzing the text and looking at the vocabulary words. And I don't remember if you sent me your listening from last week. I don't think you did. So have a look at that with the vocabulary words and send that to me. But I also don't remember if that was homework or not, or if you just did it and I gave you the answers. So sorry about that. If it was homework, send it to me. Or if you want me to have a look at anything, let me know. All right. Well, that's the end of our class today. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye.